Alright guys, our 6 weeks are over and we wanted to give you a little bit more of a breakdown over what was going on here, how these different things look on your actual plate. I traced an actual plate for these perfectly drawn circles, even though my RP shrink circle kind of butted up against my macro circle. Don't worry about that. And we'll look at the actual differences of the amounts of food that you would probably need to eat to get those averages that we got with everything. So let us start with saying all of these diets work if you stick to one of them. What we did was wanted to give you a snapshot of each of these and what each of them done correctly looked like. I know we didn't do the food prep for the RP strength and show you all that stuff. It was mainly because no one was really watching our food prep stuff. We get to see the number of views they had and it was quite low, so we just skipped out on that boring ass shit apparently. So, first off, let's start with the amount of our plate for paleo for performance. It's really gonna look like almost half of your plate would be vegetables and fruit. As you can see, kind of a sliver of your plate here is going to be some sort of heart-healthy fat, whether you're going to drizzle some olive oil over your veggies. We do have, this is about a fifth of your plate is going to be either rice or potatoes, because again, we were doing paleo for performance, not a strict paleo, not a super strict paleo. We have our meat up here as well. Obviously, again, the leaner the better, but the tendency on paleo is to eat your meat on a budget. So we have some protein and our fat there with our meat. Our rice and potatoes is obviously a carb. Our heart healthy fat is clearly a fat, and our fruit and vegetables are also carbs. The good things that paleo is about is food quality. The quality of the carbohydrate, again, set up for the amount of insulin that gets released into the bloodstream. It's also about hormonal balance, like we mentioned before, trying to keep insulin and glucagon in balance so we can actually access body fat better as fuel for energy during our workouts. The problems that we've found people have with it the most is food prep for paleo. They don't take the necessary time to do their food prep, whether that be once a week, twice a week, whatever. They don't have emergency food on hand. That might be due to their job, or it could just be out of laziness. Normally it's out of laziness, but sometimes there's not any emergency food like deli meat or beef jerky or any nuts or any food available for them. And we know when people get hangry, they make horrendous decisions. So that's kind of how your regular plate looks on paleo for performance. Let's contrast that here with our macros. It's a little different. Normally for most people, essentially the fruit and vegetables get switched over a little bit there. So most people, the problem people have going from paleo to macros is they go over always on their fat, so we didn't even include any fat on our plate over here, because also we know that just about almost all meats, even our lean meats, unless we're eating really chicken breast or turkey breast, are going to have some sort of fat in them, even though we're looking at leaner beefs. So we have, you know, really here a little bit more. We have about a fourth of our carbs in an ideal world coming from vegetables and fruit, about half their plate coming from a starchy carb, whether that's a bread or a rice or potatoes or some sort of real world starchy carb like a pizza, sandwiches, desserts like donuts, some candy in there for our macros as well. So the good parts of the macros is the daily replicability of it, the ability to replicate your macros every day. Don't get confused and just think this is a calorie counting diet. You're trying to hit a certain amount of protein, carb, and fat, not just stay under on your calories, which is what people mess up a lot. But it does offer a pretty good flexibility for real life in any given situation, because normally when people have parties, they're not throwing a paleo party. Yes, CrossFitters do that, but regular humans aren't having those type of parties, especially around holidays and birthdays. You're gonna have to eat some cake and go to a kid's pizza party and go to Chuck E. Cheese and things like that. So it allows for that real life flexibility when they have just a bunch of donuts in your office and things like that. The real problem that happens with the macros is an overindulgence of flexible dieting, and people stop eating vegetables and fruit on this diet and really try to fit in Chick-fil-A and cereal and every sweet from Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins and Dairy Queen that they've ever wanted, normally while they were on paleo. So they really just kind of end up getting fat and not really very muscular on this when they have a tendency to overindulge. Again, done correctly, macros works very, very well, and it does add some real life stuff where you can eat and indulge in some real life things. But constant overindulgence and saying that it fits your macros and you think you're just eating Pop-Tarts every day, and it's just not healthy, which is most people need health. Most people are not the amazing CrossFitter, weightlifter, powerlifter that they may think they are in their mind, despite what Instagram and their Instagram followers tell them. You know, if you've never made it to a national championship or regionals or been on a podium somewhere, you tone it down a little bit, okay? Last part is the RP strength, and you can see that kind of compared across all three. Our meat stays fairly consistent on our plate there. We have a healthy carb option, which RP strength gives you. Normally that's going to be some sort of whole grain or brown rice type deal, but there you can buy the template and look at that. Again, a very similar fat content, a good heart healthy fat, or like an all natural nut butter there, a little sliver. It does recommend, same thing, eating vegetables with all your meals. Whoa, novel idea, right? So you can see the breakdown there of the carbs, the fat, and the protein. We've not listed fat underneath the meats for the RP strength because they do very strictly say lean meats. It doesn't have like bacon on there for your meat choices. It doesn't have bratwursts and sausage and things like that. So you're going to be eating some very, very leaner meats on that. The RP strength again stresses food quality. Again, also just like the macros, daily replicability. Why am I having such trouble saying that word? And also nutrient timing. The real problem with the RP strength is going to be if you don't food prep. You're going to need even more food prep for the RP strength than you did for paleo for performance, because it's just easier to have all of your shit bagged up and zip-locked up for all of your meals, as opposed to, as you get better at it, yes, you can figure out how many ounces of meat you're eating, and a handful of veggies is easy to figure out, but okay, how many carbs is this if you don't have it measured out and you're not used to weighing and measuring and knowing what a cup is and a half cup of the things that you're normally eating, you're gonna need even more food prep. So hopefully you guys have a pretty healthy snapshot of each of these. And we think that you need to pick, as you can see, they're all very similar when done correctly, but you just have to do them correctly to do it, and that's what most people don't do. They try to combine, just like with, you know, their CrossFit or strength programs, they want some sort of secret squirrel program that's like, oh, a little bit of RP strength timing and a little bit of macros, and I'm gonna macro my paleo and all that. And you can do all of those things, but you should be pretty good at one before you start combining random shit into your own secret squirrel diet. It's definitely gonna work for you, but it's probably not. So pick one, find someone smarter than you to set it up for you, at least at the beginning. Do it for a minimum of 3 months and see the results via body fat, via weight loss, via inches change for whatever you're after, whether that be adding more lean muscle and bulking because you're a dude and it's summertime, or you want to be shredded out of your mind because everyone wants to see their abs in the summertime. Also, the final part up here, I don't think that we were particularly out of shape at the beginning, but as you can see, this is 6 weeks, 2 weeks on each. Lonnie went from 145 to 138. I went from 209 to 203, and we both lost body fat in inches as well. So again, hopefully this gives you a better snapshot of everything. If you have any questions, please ask.